Hey there, don't skip past this. This November, I've got something really exciting just for you. I'm bringing back my single coaching sessions. No long-term contract required, and at $299, it's a no-brainer. If you've been feeling stuck in your career or business, or you're ready to start mapping out that corporate exit strategy, this is your chance to get the clarity and direction you need. In just 1 hour, we'll create a clear action plan, boost your confidence, and help you take the next big step toward the life you actually want. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Just email me at Karen, that's Karin, at KarenFreeland.com to get your one-on-one coaching session now. Welcome to Rock Your Reinvention. I'm Karen Freeland, your guide to ditching corporate and designing a life you love. If you're ready to shift your mindset, boost your confidence, and finally take action on that dream career or business, you're in the right place. It's your time. Let's rock your reinvention. So I was talking to a fellow coach recently, and we were discussing the economy and the impact that it's been having on our businesses and the impact we think it will continue to have. And I feel really passionate about always being honest and transparent with women who are considering a move out of corporate. It is a very big decision. It is an emotionally charged decision. And what you don't need is a bunch of false fairy tales. And I feel like there's so many people on Instagram right now or any social media platform that just keep filling our heads with these ideas that it's really easy to start a business and that you're just going to be making 7 figures overnight. And it's simply not true. So you need the real. And today, that's what I want to do. I want to share how I've been updating my guidance with my clients who are considering a move out of corporate. What worked back in 2020 is not working in 2025. And so I've made a lot of adjustments to the way that I coach my clients and the considerations that I walk them through. So I'm going to walk you through those big changes today, and I hope that you will take them to heart. So the first thing that's really changed is that you now have got to have 1 year of savings. Gone are the days when having 3 to 6 months saved up is enough. Now, when you exit your role, I recommend having an entire year saved up. With inflation and more jobs concerns, we just don't know how the market's going to react. And depending on what you want to do when you leave corporate, maybe you want to go start a business, right? You're probably going to rely on other people's discretionary spending. And discretionary spending continues to fall. And most likely, that's not going to change anytime soon. So think about me being a coach, for example, right? What's one of the things that people cut as soon as times get tough? Coaching. So if your product or service depends on consumer or even business discretionary spending, you need to be prepared for that, right? If you go out and you are a corporate trainer or facilitator, that might be one of the things they cut. Professional development might be on the sidelines right now. So you have to figure out a way to pitch it so that they see there's a big return on investment. The one thing that I want to caveat on having a year of savings, though, is that you don't actually need to have a full year of your corporate salary. Okay, so let's say you were making, I'm going to throw out a number, $300,000 a year. You don't actually need to have $300,000 saved up. Why is that? Well, what you're going to find is that after you leave, your spending is naturally going to go down to more closely reflect your actual income. You're going to be spending less on gas because you're not commuting to the office every day. You're spending less on eating out or getting takeout after a long, grueling day when, you're just like, oh, I don't want to cook. You're not going to have to worry about that. You're spending less on shopping. You don't have to update your work wardrobe every season. Maybe even less on childcare, because you're around more. My kids, when I first started my business, they didn't have to go to aftercare anymore. They could just ride the bus home. And then if I had to, I could work that final hour with them home. Or a lot of times I didn't have to work because I already finished my clients by 3 so that I could intentionally be present with them. So it's best to get a real handle on the must-have expenses and then gauge your 1 year of savings off of that. It does not have to be 1 year of your corporate salary. The second thing that I highly recommend, and that has changed a little bit since I first left and did my first exit plan, is paying off debt. I recommend you being completely free of any bad debt. So, what's bad debt? Credit cards, anything with a really high interest rate, that might be something like a loan, anything that depreciates quickly, like a car loan. The one exception could be if you have a 0% interest rate. So maybe, you put half down on your car and then the other half still has to be paid off, but there's no interest. And you have enough money to make those monthly payments, then it might make sense to keep that for now and not worry about paying that down. However, if you have even a 6% loan or more, you're better off paying that down now before you leave. Fidelity and a lot of other financial institutions recommend that if the interest rate on your debt is 6% or greater, you generally want to pay that down before you take those dollars and invest them elsewhere or focus on savings. Now, on the flip side, there is such a thing as good debt. And we typically think of that as things that are growing our financial health. That could be a mortgage, right? That's okay. That's normal debt that most people have. And you are getting equity through that mortgage. A rental property, I have one of those. That's good debt. And of course, if you can be mortgage free and not have any debt, that's always great, right? I highly encourage that. But it has to make sense for you overall. And this is where having a financial planner or advisor in your corner can be really advantageous because they're going to help you strategize on when to invest and when to pay off your debt. But bottom line, the less debt you can have before leaving corporate, the better. The third thing that you need to be doing is start your business before you leave. Okay. Unless you are in a very serious mental health situation or physical health situation as a result of your job, I would not recommend quitting before you have tested your offer and secured a handful of clients. 2 or 3 years ago, I would not have necessarily said the same thing. I would have been much more bullish on just going for it, take a leap, and you're going to figure it out. But it's really more imperative than ever that you start building your business and bringing in income before you give that 2 weeks notice. And I'm not talking about taking a few free clients to boost your confidence. That, just so that you know that this business will work. I'm talking about actual recurring revenue on the books paying clients. And recurring revenue is really important because that is what is going to sustain your business and help you keep going for the long haul. Lump sums and pay in full are great, but they can't be your only way of doing business. If it is, you are going to need to be extra vigilant with your budget, and you're going to have a rock solid mindset to help you ride out the slow months when you're not bringing anything in. I went to monthly payments probably my second year in of my business. And I'll tell you what, I threaten to quit a lot less now because I know that I have something coming in every single month. I can count on this recurring revenue. And for me, that's far better than, making someone pay everything up front. Now, I know there are still probably some concerns with starting your business before you leave your corporate job. You don't want anyone to find you out. And yes, it's true, you're going to need to be careful. But word of mouth and personal invites for people to come and work with you, that's how you're going to get your business. So don't worry about needing to be out there on social media and doing all this crazy marketing yet. You don't have to stress about that. You can absolutely build this business on the hush through that word of mouth and referrals. The fourth thing that I highly recommend if you're thinking about leaving corporate is to get creative with other revenue streams. When I was starting my business back in 2020, the main guidance was to pick one offer and only market that for a year. And you know what? Back in 2020, that totally worked. But that's not going to fly in 2025. The idea here is to diversify your offerings and have other ways for you to make money. So, for example, I have coaching, right? That's my main offer, but my speaking also brings in a pretty steady flow of cash as well. I've also been making money doing LinkedIn profile audits for clients who want to stay in corporate and get promoted or ensure that they're demonstrating their value to their current employer. So you want to be thinking about some of these alternate ways that you can make money if and when the economy slows down. Companies and events will always need a keynote speaker. And you know what? Since I'm not as expensive as a Gary Vee or Tony Robbins, this is actually a great time for me to be a speaker. When organizations are looking for someone who's dependable, someone who's still a great speaker and inspirational, but they can also get it at a great value. Now, I do want to mention that you can't have like 50 offers, right? And you can't market all things at once because a confused mind always says no. And you want buyers saying yes. So this does require some segmenting of your offer, of your audience, knowing who you want to offer what to. And not all offers need to be marketed publicly, right? They're not all on my website. You're not going to find one thing about a LinkedIn audit anywhere on my website, right? And that's because I usually make these offers personally, or I'm doing it through like another organization and offering it to their people, right? But it's not something that I just blanket market because we don't want to confuse our buyers. This is where a business coach like myself can actually help you strategize your offers and figure out the best things to offer and who to offer them to. I also want you to understand that just because you leave corporate to start a specific business doesn't mean there's anything wrong with earning supplemental income from other avenues. This is not a failure. You are not doing something wrong if your sole offer doesn't replace your corporate income. It's just smart business to diversify and go where the market needs you to go. And the best female entrepreneurs, the ones who are in it for the long haul and doing this, they're the ones that are getting creative every single day, right? And they're not taking it personally. And I didn't always feel that way, right? I really felt for a while like if I'm not making money from my core coaching offer and it's not replacing my corporate salary, well, then I'm doing something wrong. And then I started running into all these women who were like, oh, I pivoted from this because it wasn't earning me enough. And I pivoted to that because actually that's what people are really needing right now. And I was like, oh, that's just good business, right? That's just being savvy. And I hope you'll see it that way too. The fifth thing I want to share with you today and the guidance that I'm giving to my clients is that it is still wise for you to invest in a coach. Now more than ever, it's a good idea to have that level of support. With an uncertain economy, you want support from someone who is successful in these environments. And you're going to need all the mindset support you can get. Yes, the mechanics and the practical day-to-day operating advice is helpful from a coach, of course, but business is 80% mindset and 20% mechanics. You're smart, you're talented, and you're totally capable of figuring out the mechanics. But I don't know an entrepreneur who doesn't get in their head too often. And this is where a coach will be instrumental in helping you out. Now, do I think you need to go get a $20,000 coach? No, I don't think you need to pick the most expensive coach out there. And a big price tag doesn't always mean they're the best. In fact, one of my clients was just saying how she's received more value from our first few sessions than she got from months of working with a more expensive coach. So it's really all about value. And the right coach will help you achieve your desired success faster than you could do it on your own. This is a time where it's worth paying for speed. And as always, I'm not just talking the talk. Right after I was laid off from my corporate job, I hired my first coach, and I am so glad I did. I honestly don't know where I would have ended up if I didn't have her support. Even though I had no income coming in at the time, it was a worthwhile investment for my business. Not to mention, coaching is a tax write-off. Did you know that? It is. So that is going to lower your tax position at the end of the year too. It's a win-win. So I still do recommend you investing in a coach and getting that support as you're building your business and creating your exit plan. And the last thing that I want to share with you today is to plan for higher health insurance costs. It is currently open enrollment season on the healthcare marketplace, and I've seen my premiums jump quite a bit. My plan for 2025 for a family of 4 who's all relatively healthy was $202 a month. And I'm now being told that it's going to be $511. So that is more than a 50% jump in my health insurance costs on a monthly basis. So you definitely want to factor that in to your savings plan. Now, if you're in an area that has healthcare brokers, that's another great resource to help you make sure you're getting the best plan for your family. Whatever you do, I don't want this to be a barrier to you leaving. I don't want this to be the thing that you're like, well, oh, Karen told me healthcare costs are going, so I'm just going to hang in there in my miserable soul-sucking job for another year or two. No. That's not what I'm saying. This should not be a barrier. I just want you to be cognizant that this is an expense that you need to factor in when you're thinking about that 1 year of savings. So those are the biggest changes that your corporate exit strategy is going to have to factor in for 2025. You've got to have a full year of savings. You've got to pay off all that bad debt. Start your business before you leave so that you've got that steady income. Get creative with those revenue streams. It doesn't have to be all or nothing in one area. Diversify. Get yourself a coach so you have the support to help you ride this out for the long haul and factor in those higher healthcare costs to your savings. And even though there may be a few challenges to navigate, my fellow coach friend and I are still happier than we would have been in corporate. And we're so glad that we made that move, bet on ourselves, and took the leap. I know you will be too. So take this info to heart, put the action steps into play, and go rock your reinvention. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you're inspired to take action by committing to one of the tips or strategies we talked about in today's episode. If you want more accountability and support, I've got your back. Book a complimentary Empowered Exit Strategy call today. Visit KarenFreeland.com to learn more and book your 45-minute session. Until next time, stay fabulous.